Today on Rethink Real Estate, we've got one of our Harcourts originals, Kara Welliver. Now, Kara is based out of our Monarch Beach office, and the real takeaway for me out of this one was a personal injection of the things you love to do that creates a brand. Hopefully this helps. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Kara, welcome to Rethink Real Estate.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Appreciate it.
Well, the reason that I wanted to have you on the podcast is first and foremost is that I think that you're one of my favorite people within Harcourts. But second out of that is to also
everybody.
Oh yeah. No, you could go back and actually look through the episodes. Nobody's gotten that. Okay. I've even said to Bob is that you're one of my most unfavorite people in the group.
Well, anyway. Bob's a character, so there you
go. But I think that there's a part of this, Kara, that you sort of fly under the radar when it comes to the hype of things. There's the real estate industry is full of people that are either below the radar or they're trying to be so far above the radar that they're detesting.
Right. So, I got that. Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's a part of this as well that you have this politely under the radar perspective to your business, but it's this situation that where I see the events that you do, I see the type of connection that you have with your clients, and I really wonder, there's probably 3 or 4 people in the group that I deal with that would have the same level of connection with their clients that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I get to do real estate with thousands of people every year, even external to the company. And a lot of them do not have that connection. You can feel like it's very transactional. So today I want to get into all of that. I want to talk about that. However, but before we get there, let's give the audience a bit of background. Real estate wasn't the only thing that you've ever done, was it?
No. So obviously I'm 23 years in real estate right now, but prior to that, I had a career in retail. And of course I was at Nordstrom, and I was at Nordstrom for 15 years. And, I kind of did that thing where you start on the sales floor and then they're like, okay, become the department manager. Okay, then we're going to put you on a plane and send you to New York and you're going to become a buyer. And I did that for several different departments. And then it was like, okay, we're going to move you up into being a merchandiser. So then you're in charge of the buyers. And so you just kind of keep going. You just keep working your way up the chain. And that led me from Southern California to Northern California to Seattle at the end of the game. And I was a corporate merchandise manager for the petite division. So I went through all that, and ultimately at the end, I never thought it would be my life career at Nordstrom. They were notorious for reinventing themselves, and one day you're going to be in charge of this department, and the next another, and the next another. And so when I had moved to Seattle, again, they figured, oh gosh, we need to reinvent ourselves, and now we're going to go back to regional. So I didn't move up there to be a regional person. So I said, you know what, now it's time. It's been 15 years, so it's time. So move me back to Southern California. I don't know what I'm going to do. So for a year, I worked for one of my old vendors, and she was a nightmare. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. She was a control freak. And so then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get my real estate license. My dad had his license. He was formerly a banker, and my mom sold real estate. My mother-in-law sold real estate.
In Oregon? In Oregon? Was he a real estate agent?
My mom sold real estate in Oregon. My dad did in California, and then my mother-in-law did in California. So I guess it's kind of in my background. So I thought, well, I'll just get my license. And so I did, and kind of the rest is history. I was at Berkshire Hathaway for 15 years before I got a call to come down and interview with Harcourts. And it was kind of serendipitous, I guess, that my broker had passed away, and he was kind of the glue to that company. So I was like, you know what, I guess I'm ready for an opportunity. I'd always wanted to have an office closer to where I work. Silly me, I didn't do that earlier, because my office was in Long Beach for all those years, because I used to live in Belmont Shore. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to have my office close to my home. So now I'm, 7 minutes from my home. So with Harcourts for going on 6.5 years.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, is that it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the business, the way that you can conduct that business. But a couple of things I want to talk about just in that situation that you went through.
Yeah.
15 years. People, I often find people strive for consistency. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not a great job, they will stay in it
Mm-hmm.
for a longer period of time. For
Mm-hmm.
you to make a decision that you didn't want to be with Nordstrom's anymore, was there an element of panic in all of that?
It's so funny. Hindsight is 2020. So I'm thinking to myself, I see a lot of my friends who've retired from Nordstrom with big benefits and all this stuff and great discounts. I'm like, what was I thinking? So I didn't really think about it. It was just one of those things where it was like a gut thing. It's like, you know what, I don't want to do that. And I just, I didn't think it was going to be my forever career. So like I said, it just came down to it. Let me go back and try something else. I
So,
thought I would
so
stay in retail, but I didn't know I was going to go into real estate.
having your time again, this is a horrible thing to ask, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is that would you get into real estate? Would you do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I do like the one thing that everybody says is they do like the flexibility of their time and their life and all that kind of stuff. But I really do like being out, being with people, connecting with people, and again, not being confined into an office and just being able to be out there and doing different things, because in real estate, we know there's all aspects to real estate. It's not a fixed set of things that you do. It's always changing. So I do like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
I love the fact that, understanding your corporate background a little bit more now, it kind of makes a great deal of sense to the characteristics that you have. Like, obviously you and I shared an office for a couple of years, and you were so consistently there, not saying that you were there because you were out quite often, but you were one of the most consistent people coming and turning up to an actual place of work, so to speak. Not like, because I'm very similar to you in that sense. Like, I have to go somewhere to do it. Like, I can't do it in the whimsical element of just at home and stuff. I'm not sure if that's changed, but
Yeah.
I need to be in different modes, I guess. Do you still find that? How have you adapted to it?
Well, it's funny because it's like, at one point in time when I was earlier in my career in real estate, I thought it was great that I could sit in my backyard and play with my dogs, and that was so great. But it's like, now I'm in the mindset where, no, I need to get away. I need to be at my office. I need to come have that environment. Like, and whether I'm coming or going, I still like to have that ability to come in and be down here. I do like I like the ability to see other people in my office when they're there.
When they're there, yeah. That's right.
No doubts to anybody on that, but
Exactly.
I do really like that environment. I like the camaraderie of being around other people and the engaging and just doing that. And again, I think at home when people, working in isolation is hard. I don't care how good you are. My opinion is that working in isolation is you miss out on things that you would get by just casually walking by somebody or overhearing a conversation or something. So I really feel like, for me, coming to the office and being here again, whether it's an ebb and a flow to that, I think that that's really important. So that has changed, because I think when I was back in Long Beach, I did that because I was close to my office. But then when I moved to Laguna Niguel, my office was still in Long Beach. I disconnected myself, and that is one of my regrets, was disconnecting myself for all those years and thinking that I could work at home. And so again, I kind of regret that aspect of it. But again, it's a long career and you live and learn and you have your ebb and flows. So again, I feel like I'm in a good place now doing what I'm doing.
So I guess that, just for the listeners that don't know Southern California overly well, is that Long Beach to Laguna Niguel is probably the equivalent to depending on traffic, probably a 2-hour commute if you go at peak time. But again, it's not that far away.
No.
You still service your Long Beach clients now.
I do. I've got listings there right now, and like I said, it's a lot of my clients are still there, and whether it's Long Beach or San Pedro or anywhere around there, I definitely have car will travel. That's what I do.
So tell me, why did you move to Laguna Niguel?
My husband's parents were in Dana Point. And so we just thought at one point, let's get out of the Belmont Shore. I lived on a 2,400 square foot lot, and you could kind of touch your neighbors.
Yeah, that's just the way it is there, though. Like, it's such a great community. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. But then we're just like, let's just be closer to his parents. So we just started looking, and we were looking in Laguna Beach and Dana Point, and ultimately I drove into this neighborhood that I'd never been in before, with single loaded streets and large lots and lots of trees and no gates and no HOA. I'm like, okay, there we are.
Yeah. Laguna Niguel is relatively addictive if you've been elsewhere where it's obviously confined space. There's elements of it that I miss, even moving down, to North County, Orange County, or moving up to North County. You definitely miss that little bit more space. But I guess that there's a part of that, though, that then creates a new challenge in your business. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by a new challenge is that your entire client basis was up in Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
What was the level of anxiety that you might have had? And again, maybe you didn't have any moving down here and then trying to sort of bleed into doing more real estate in, the Orange County marketplace, so to speak.
Right. And that was and that still kind of continues to be my challenge, is that wanting to grow my average price point. Well, Long Beach to Orange County, very different, right? So, so again, really wanting to serve those clients, because a lot of those clients have been with me and are some of my great referrers who are up there. And again, I really service them. But again, I'm still trying to grow my Orange County business, because I feel that's important, because obviously I like the proximity, but I also like the price point. So, but again, for me, it's like, honestly, distance isn't that much of a big deal for me. I'll kind of just go wherever, and not, I won't take anything, but I'm saying, sometimes one client will lead you into another area that you didn't ever plan on going, but you go there because you want to serve that client. And so that's just kind of how it goes. Like, I've got one great client who I met in Laguna Niguel, and we've now closed on number 11 property. And He takes me, we go from San Bernardino to Signal Hill to Buena Park to Anaheim to wherever. And then that somehow leads you into, well, you met this owner and he's in San Bernardino and he wants to list his warehouse in his house. So again, you kind of just, there, like I said, you kind of go where sometimes the trail leads you, So that's part of what I like about selling real estate. It's not always in a box. And I feel like it's always, I'm learning something about a new area that I didn't know before. So, I mean, my farthest listing ever, which was a nightmare, was up into Hatchpee. And I didn't even know where that was. But it was a referral from another client. And I was so afraid that my GPS wasn't going to work when I was traveling up there, because I didn't know where I was going. But so that's part of the fun, or the interesting thing, that you're learning things and it's challenging.
Well, I think that there's a part of this also, Kara, that then leads me back to sort of a little bit of a question, because, again, I knew your business, but I don't know it as well as what I know now, getting a few more insights to it, is that you do a great deal of your client events here locally, in the Orange County marketplace, but yet your probably client basis is a little bit more geared still up there. Let's talk about the way that you look at your clients and the way that you run your database and the way that you nurture those. How do you keep your people top of mind for yourself?
Well, of course, one thing I do is I do send out a monthly mailing to my clients, and it's called an item of value. And it is something that's generated by Brian Buffini. But of course, I take it and I personalize it. And so I'm always sending them something once a month. But whatever I send them once a month is different. It might be in a blue envelope, or it might be in a clear envelope, or it might be this, or it might be that with a different stamp. And I spend way too much time trying to figure out how to make that look unique, but that's just who I am. My profile says I'm a craftsman. So I really take that.
I agree with that. The baked goods that come along with having Kara as an agent will make you overweight people. I just need you to all know that. Okay. I'm there's a slight bit of me that my waistline has done better being out of the office with you.
Well, I can do a drop by though, so very soon. But so I really do try to stay top of mind. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of clients that, we might just chat once a month, just because, hey, they're calling me to ask me, hey, we left you as a person to call for our dog while we're out of town or something or whatever. I'm like, oh, fine, no problem. So, I mean, I really try to stay top of mind, because I do call them. I try to see them with the Pop-Bys. I mean, that is, again, another thing that's like a Buffini thing that I do, is the Pop-Bys.
So explain a Pop-By. How often would that be? And what is it, more of a feel thing? Like that's something that I've got to be honest, is that I haven't had many agents, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of them, mention a Pop-By. Like, how does that work and what does that look like?
I try to do Pop-Bys to, again, maybe my A clients, and maybe some of the Bs. It just depends on, where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do. But like a lot of people do, in my opinion, what I call like the cheesy Pop-By, and I can't do that. Again, it comes back to my craftsman, who I am and what I do. So again, for me, it's usually something that a lot of it's baked goods, just because that's what my clients kind of expect from me. It's just like,
you branded yourself with that. You in my mind, you are synonymous with that. So at the same point in time, they are as well. Like I think Kara, I think real estate, but ultimately I also think about immediately the baked goods that you would bring into the office and that you would give us in certain moments and whatever it is. Like, to an extent, I've understood that treatment, and there's an element of branding in that sense that I think is phenomenal.
Mhm. Yeah. And like I said, my clients just love it. It's just like, and I kind of know what each one kind of likes. Like, okay, they don't like, nuts, and they hate whatever. And they, you kind of just get to know that. But again, I do it because I honestly, I feel like I give a really quality product. So it's like, I won't go out and buy something, but I will make something, and I put it in a unique packaging, or it's got a cute tag with me and my dogs on it or something. And my clients love it. If they're not there, I'll leave it at the doors, take a picture of it and send them a text. Hey, drop this off, whatever.
Yeah.
But they love that. So I try to do that. So the monthly item of value, the Pop-Bys, I do try to do personal notes. And again, I don't do as many of those as I probably should. But again, when I do send them, I usually get a thank you for the note. I mean, it's one of those things where, hey, got your note. They'll take a picture of it, whatever, and they'll send it to me. You just got this in the mail. And so again, I really try to be relational and personal. And that's really
that's you just used the word. You just used the word that I really want to double click on here is personal. Like you've put yourself into your business. Like at the end of the day, like and again, I think that this is really clear cut. Your photo with your dogs, your baking, your element of thank you cards, like your business is so authentically you. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean by that, Kara?
Yeah.
Whereas most people are trying to pretend to be overly professional, and not to say that you are not.
I understand. Yeah.
No, but like they're trying to be that real estate person. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong or right. Like whatever works for you works for you. For you, it works to put your full self into it because you're such a likable person. Right. So I think that's where like trying to dig through this a little bit more to get to, just because it's amazing though. Like there's like the clients that I've interacted with you and them in the auctions that we have done. Like your clients, obviously your sister would as well, but like they would literally fight someone if they had a bad word to say about you. Like that's the part of this. Like it gets down to the point that it's so easy to put a deal together if it's maybe slightly less than what they were expecting or whatever, because they know that you've put every effort in. They know you are a genuine person. It's a very different feel to a deal that I'm doing with somebody where you're having to crowbar it together because of the lack of personality in the deal, I guess. I don't know.
No, I think that's really true. And I think the one thing for me, and again, hindsight is 2020, had I my business to do over again, it's like, I should have done a lot of things along the way that I didn't do, but I am where I am and I'm happy with it. Would I like to do more business? Absolutely. Because I figure, okay, I'm X amount of years old and I want to retire and I need to do X amount of business before I can retire. But I feel like, but for me, at the end of the day, I'm just a real estate agent who's, I don't want to say content, but I'm happy with where my business is at, but I still want to grow it. But again, I feel like I'm not, I won't do cold calls. I'm not going to, door knock. That's just not me. I'm not going to do that. I like the warm, friendly lead of, whatever. And that's really the way I'll go. And I'm sure I could do more of that to do more business, which I am being more intentional about that right now. But again, I feel like for me, it's about being genuine. It's my own brand. I am my own brand. It's funny. I've just recently started to do a quarterly newsletter, which I know you know, and it's so.
I still have it on my desk, by the way.
Thank you. I'm working on the next one, but the evolution of me putting that together, it's purely a labor of love. It's not something that I go in and I generate with AI. I put a lot of heart into it. I probably do way too much time, but again, I love that. That's part of who I am and what I like to do. Like that's one of my hobbies. I know it's kind of weird. It's like I can spend hours on Canva creating doing whatever and going out for the photo shoot in the blueberry field in Temecula to make it work. And I love all that, right? But I feel like it's really funny. I kind of have a mentor in my neighborhood. He's in his early 70s and he's an architect and he's done some of the most famous things in like Newport Beach and in Mexico and all kinds of places. And he's an amazing man and he's become my friend and mentor. And we'll go down there and I'll go down and I'll show him my mock-up and he'll be like, so we'll kind of go through this thing where he's like, get the scissors out and we'll do this cutting and pasting process. And it's really fun, but he's like, he's like, Kara, it's your brand. It's who you are. And you have to show the real you and do this and do that. And it's just such a fun collaboration. And again, I really enjoy that. So that again, it's just like, it's just become, again, another aspect of even my personal time that turns into work that I love so much. But again, that for me, it's like, it's from the heart. The bottom line, it's really from the heart. And then, people will call me and they'll like, I had one little client, he's so cute. He's like 85 years old, and he called me and he walked through like every section on my mailer with me. He's so like, tell me about the sous vide vanilla, and tell me about this and tell me about that. And I like, how amazed did I feel that he took the time to call me and ask me about all these sections in my mailer. So again, I feel like that to me makes me feel so good. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed.
That is why
but
I
I
do
think,
it.
and if it was generated with AI, you probably wouldn't have even read it and ultimately wouldn't have been even able to talk about it. So
Right. Yeah.
there's a great deal of this that I like. I want some people to sort of take a little bit of you and inject them into themselves in their business, because I think it would take them a lot further. But Kara, there's a couple of like things that I do want to sort of just talk about. First one, you tried to bring a business partner into your business at one point, and that kind of it didn't. I don't know. It didn't affect your business, but it ultimately just didn't work out because they didn't have the staying power. What are some lessons learned out of doing that? I'd love to just know for people that might be listening and might be going through the same thing.
Well, I guess it's like, you never really know a person until you're into the process, right?
Totally.
But again,
Totally.
and so that I didn't really know.
I often say that about sellers. If they're an unknown person, you don't really know their real expectations and intentions until you get a little bit in there, because they're not going to tell a perfectly good stranger everything.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because, all along the process, I mean, I've actually put a lot of time into it because we developed a website from scratch. I mean, like every little thing, not an AI website, but a website from scratch. And that took a lot of my time. Again, it was a learning process. So I chalk it up to that was a learning process. But he spent, and again, thankfully it wasn't my money, but we probably spent $35,000 on a website that now I let go because it's like, it's not relevant. So, but anyway, so there was a lot of that time. And it's like, I think at the end of the day, he thought he could go from another career into real estate because, and I thought he was going to have this database that we could work from and all the stuff that he told me. And then when it really push comes to shove, it didn't really come to fruition. So that was, again, I guess maybe I should have done more research. I mean, I tried to get the information, but I just couldn't get it from him.
No, but sometimes it just comes from experience, I think. But just going into it, what do you think were the red flags now that you look back? Just again, I'm not saying because he was a good person. There's no doubt about that. It was it's just on the execution that it failed. So I guess that from a red flag perspective, because again, for people that need to like get an understanding, this gentleman had a very successful business and a great deal of book of that business and relationships that we thought were going to come over. And it made a great deal of sense to me as well, Kara. So what do you think were the red flags and what would you look at differently now?
Well, you have to really, and again, I don't it's not even really an age thing, but at one point, the red flag would have been age issues and like health issues that kind of at one point were one thing that got in the way. And then I think it was also, I think he just decided in his life that he just didn't want to work hard anymore. So I think he was all gung-ho at one point, but as the process went on, I kind of saw him fading away a little bit. And I guess maybe I didn't look in that as much. I kind of thought, because he kept saying, no, this is a great time to get into real estate when it's a downturning market. It's a great time to get in. And then he flipped that script and said, oh, it's a bad time to get into real estate. So again, I feel like,
but producing a narrative that ultimately gave him the excuse to stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
well, again, I honestly think you're better for it, to be honest, like going through the process and everything along those lines, because it's just refocused up a little bit more. And I think that's great. The next thing that I really want to go through and just hit on some of the events that you have held for your clients, because first and foremost, I want to like the detail that you go into, but also some people are not that way inclined to do it and they just lack maybe the creativity and the idea. So let's talk about your client events that you put on or have put on, and what have they been?
Okay. Well, one of my favorite events is my wine tasting, and I've done it now 3 times. And I got really lucky because my neighbor who lives behind me is an importer. He imports German wines, and he's been doing it for about 20 some years. And obviously I've known him for 20 some years living in my neighborhood, but it really wasn't until a few years back when he did some wine at one of my local potlucks that we do in our neighborhood. He brought his wine over. But anyway, so he's my neighbor. And he just one time he threw it out to me, said, hey, if you ever want to do an event. And so I took him up on that. And the thing that's so cool is he has like a warehouse down in Laguna Niguel, close to In-N-Out Burger, but he has a warehouse, and then he has a showroom. And so it's a great showroom, and it holds about 15 to 20 people. And he's a German guy, so loud and gregarious, and he's a great storyteller. So I kind of thought
have you told Callista about this? That'd be great ladies at lunch.
No. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
No, because they would love him. They would love him. And we have to have a couple hours because we have like tastings of like, I don't know, 10 or 15 wines, but it's fun.
Good.
But anyway, so, I mean, it just kind of came down to it. It's like, I kind of had this vision of like, I really didn't know what it was like the first one out, but the first one out was so amazing. I think I probably had like 18 people, and I did everything from creating the invitation to, I did all the food to the place cards to the whatever. And then the thing that was really fun and important about it is when you pick the clients that are going to come, I tried to match up clients who might be interested to know each other. Like I knew I had a client who just bought a home and had some landscaping issues. So I invited one of my neighbors who's a landscaper. So I tried to pair up people just so that I knew that people would enjoy.
This is the gold here. Like again, doing the event is ultimately one of those things. And I'm just not that person from an event perspective that I like that gives me a little bit of like, bringing people together and whatever it is. Now, again, it's easy with a company and bringing agents together, but from a client perspective, it's different. But that is an incredible idea. Matching the people who come from an audience perspective and not just inviting everybody for the sake of everybody.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm like for me, this is the other thing that's like, because I am the type of person who I take a lot of things very personally. So you have to like, oh, they're not going to come. And this goes down to the fact that, remember we talked about like my events down here, but a lot of my clients are in Long Beach. And I have one gal who she always promises she's going to come, and then it's just too far. So I'm like, okay, I still invite her, but I know she's going to say no and she's not going to come. But so that's just one thing. But again, I really try to, like I said, cherry pick who's going to come and who's going to sit next to whom, and they get their place card, and it's all very laid out and very specific. And again, you end up, you probably have to invite 30 or 40 to people to get like 15 people that you really care that want to be there. So again, it is a lot of work, a lot of follow up. It's like they get the save the date, they get the invitation, whether it's usually it's mailed or hand delivered. How
often are you doing these?
I'm doing this like twice a year.
Okay.
So and it's a lot of work, but again, it's funny. It's not, the cost isn't that much. It's really just more of the, because I do everything like just neurotically, like I did individual charcuterie boxes for like 18 people. And my God, my husband was like yelling at me. He's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, because I have to, because I couldn't just order something. So again, like I said, it comes down to very, very much personal touches that way. And like, every time it's like a place card, and it's like the place card this time was a cookie from one of my clients who makes specialized cookies. So everybody got a personalized cookie, and they loved it. And then everybody gets a free bottle of wine, and they loved it. But it's just such a fun experience. And I have to tell you, last time I invited, he's not even a client, he's a friend of my husband's, and he's just a good connector of people. And I said, Joe, and he'd been to an event before. I said, Joe, bring somebody to the event. I want you to bring somebody. And then I talked to him a few days before, and I'm like, are you coming? And I said, are you bringing somebody? He's like, yeah, I have like 5 people I can invite. I'm like, no, Joe, that's too many. So he ended up bringing 3 people. Well, one of those people I didn't know, but I invited them to my ice cream social. I wrote a contract on a $1.6 million house for them today. So, I mean, again, that.
Now, hang on. That's amazing. But let's roll back here. Ice cream social. Talk to me about that. What's that idea?
The ice cream social was something new that we did this year. And the thing that was so great about that is like one thing that I know a lot of people probably worry about with events is not having the turnout. And so I was endeavoring to have a new event this year, and it was an ice cream social over at Riverwalk over in San Juan Capistrano.
I think you're 100% right, though, just to double click on that, just that point. Most people are afraid that no one's going to turn up. Yep, 100%.
I mean, that is a big fear. You're always worrying about the RSVPs, because you don't want to like have this event and no one shows up and you look like it's a fail. But again, that's where I figured this time I invited some agents that I had in my Brian Buffini group that I do monthly. And I say, why don't you, because there's a person who I love in my Buffini group. And so we started the collaboration. So we did it together. And I brought in another gal. So there was 3 of us. And that way we all brought in clients. So we had a really great event.
That's great.
And
that's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah. And so that was really like a fun experience. And we already have that book to do again next year. And we already know how we're going to improve on it. And we had a charity involved. And it was just a fun event. We did it on a crazy wild Sunday, but it was National Ice Cream Day. And so, but it was fun. And we just found the greatest collaborator with this ice cream store. And it was awesome. So again, people loved it. They loved it. And we had a special ice cream cookie made from my gal who does cookies. So again, as many collaborations and tie-ins of people that I already work with, it's just so fun. It's awesome.
No, that's good. Well, again, I think that it's some of those ideas, the personalized ideas of having a small, intimate group of your database where you do a couple of different events and you bring the right people together. But then there's also the collaboration with agents, whether they be in your office or in other offices as well, or other brands. It doesn't really matter, because I know you still do a little bit of collaboration in your office as well for like the pie giveaways at Thanksgiving and things like that. Realistically, if you think about if you think about it, your core clients are probably being invited to maybe 2 to 4 things a year, and maybe they might come to one of them. That is the real opportunity in all of this.
Right, exactly. And the other thing too, it's also about the number of touches. So if you think about it, for any given event, let's say for my wine tasting, they would have gotten a save the date.
Yep.
Then they would have gotten an actual invitation. And this year I actually just used Greenvelope because I could go in and customize this really awesome invitation. And I picked music and I just made this awesome invitation. And people loved it.
What's it
called?
Called?
Greenvelope.
Okay.
And it's really awesome because you can go in and customize it and do whatever. And you can do an annual subscription or whatever. But that was really fun. And that way you could kind of track your people. And so you could text that to them and you could email it to them. So there was an opportunity to do a follow-up email. So, you could have, with one event, you could have 7 to 8 touches. And then I finally got smart and hired this amazing gal to take photos for me and then follow up with the photos and do Instagram photos.
Yeah, see, that's amazing. Taking photos of it and then sending it back out to your database saying, hey, it was a great wine event, or, our ice cream social was amazing, everything along those lines. That's awesome.
Yeah. So again, just really maximizing the touches, because again, like I said, I keep inviting the gal who I told you isn't going to come because it's too far away, but I still invite her. So, and again, it's just a great opportunity. And I feel like each time I do that event or any event, I just get better at it and how to make it more engaging, or how to make it more memorable. And I truly love it. They definitely stress me out, and I will not kid you. Because again, I was like, oh my God, I need to get more people. But again, or I'm up till, late the day before prepping everything, but I do love it. And like I said, it just makes me feel good when people come in and they have a great time and they tell me how fun the event was. And again, I love that because like I said, I do really like to have my clients. I'm very relational with them, and I like to. It just it fills me up to have that kind of relationship with my clients and know that they really appreciate that. So.
Yep. Well, again, I think that then bleeds through to the success that you've had, and ultimately, at the end of the day, you're having fun while doing it, Kara. So that's the part of this that I think is a massive takeaway. Mm-hmm. My other real takeaway in all of this is the personal element that you've put into your business. Mm-hmm. I think it creates a connection that would never be competed against, so to speak. Right. So either way, thank you so much for everything that you do for Harcourts, but then also thank you so much for the person that you are in the group. I think that it raises the average of care, which I love. But that being said, congratulations on the longevity that you've had in everything that you've done. I think that's something that definitely needs to be recognized as well. So all in all, I think people can take away something that's a little bit more genuine out of this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.